Yeah, the Victory Monday edition, Mr. Irrelevant, presented by Door County Distillery. I'm Alex Strouf, hanging out with you in the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. Reunited, and it feels so good with producer Tiny Hands Hunter Vaughn running the show for us today. No Joshie DiMaggio. He'll rejoin us coming up on Wednesday's show. Plenty to get into on this Victory Monday. I mean, could you expect anything different for that game? We knew it was going to be a shootout, 7 lead changes. You knew the kicker was going to come into play at some point, and he does. He hits the walk-off kick, does Brandon McManus in his first week as the Packers kicker. That is why you sign a veteran right there. You trotted him out there at the end of the game. The Green Bay Packers did. And I think us as a fan base, we're still holding our collective breath, right? Obviously the Texans try to ice him, and he makes the kick. While the timeout is called, that didn't count. And then he makes it again. And that is why you bring in a veteran kicker. We will get to that in a second. More on that in a second. But I do just want to start with the fact that this was the signature win the Packers were looking for, right? You felt good about this team at 4-2. You felt like they were still in the division race. They were still in arm's reach of the Lions and the undefeated at the time Vikings. And you felt good about the wins they had, right? The Packers won the games you expected them to win, even with a backup quarterback for 2 of them against the Colts and the Titans. But Love beat the Rams. Love beat the Cardinals handedly. You lose to the Vikings in his return game, Love's return game. He looks rusty, but second half he looked much better. You lose to the Eagles in the opener. That's not exactly what you expect, right? So all in all, it was the signature win you were searching for. And the Packers now look like a true Super Bowl contender. I think you felt like the entire time they were a Super Bowl contender. But yesterday is proof in the pudding that they are a Super Bowl contender. You beat a team that is nationally respected as one of the best, not only in the AFC, but the entire NFL. Now, power rankings aren't everything, but it was brought to my attention this morning, and I just want to repeat it to you. ESPN.com's power rankings last week had the, at the time, 5-1 Houston Texans listed as the 3rd best team in the NFL. Power rankings aren't everything, and we're still not even halfway through the season. But to get a win over a team that is as nationally respected as the Houston Texans are, that is a big win. It is. It's a big win. And you should feel really good about the Packers. Now, they go on the road to Jacksonville this week. That goes back to the other wins we were talking about. Beating the teams you should beat. The Packers should beat the Jags. They should be 6-2, heading into a big home game in 2 weeks against the Detroit Lions, which could view and could be a first place in the NFC North game, depending on what happens, obviously, with the Lions and the Vikings in the meantime leading up to that. But right now, you feel really good about where they're at. So all in all, a really strong win by the Packers yesterday. 24-22, the final score over the Texans at Lambeau Field on a walk-off field goal. Tiny Hands, what's going on?
I don't want this to come off as if I'm trying to take away anything from the Packers.
Oh, you're going to, though.
No, I'm just genuinely, I don't know when else in the show to bring this up.
Sure.
I don't know what the hell the Texans were doing at the end of that game.
Me neither.
It was the only part that I saw, but like running the out route to Tank Dell.
Yeah.
Like, you need to run a draw play or a screen play and just get the clock to move, force the Packers to use that timeout, because then Dobbs makes that catch. They don't get the timeout, and the game's over.
Or close to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it depends if they're – and I was thinking about that when it happened, right? If they didn't have that timeout, do they have enough time to run up to the ball and spike it? I don't know. I think maybe you might have a second left.
Yeah.
But it'd be very close, to your point, right? So, in the way Joe Mixon was playing in that game, I'm surprised they didn't ride him more that final drive.
Yeah, and that was what was, like, really weird. It was like the Texans, like, D'Amico Ryans just doesn't know how to handle late game management, because the head coach would be like, no, we're not running that play. Like, you can't have anything running to the boundary. You've got to have everything going inside in that spot. And then, like, I also don't understand the officials of not stopping the game to review that Dobbs catch. Like, it was a catch once we saw the replay, but in the moment, I'm like, how? Like, you got to stop and, like, take a look at that. Just make sure for how much this game gets officiated, for how much they review, it was just really weird that they're like, nope, no, we're good. We know exactly what happened.
So I actually didn't take that in a way at all that you were taking it away from the Packers. I think it's a fair point, right? Like I think with hindsight being 2020, being what it is, they probably regret how they handled that final drive. But game's over. You lost. Sorry, right? You're not going to apologize about winning in this league, and you never should, despite, and we'll get to stock up, stock down. There were a lot of negatives from the Packers yesterday. A lot of things were sloppy and gross and not well executed, but they still found a way to win. And that's the important part, right? Like, if you are a team with championship expectations, which obviously the Packers are, you just have to find ways to win. And the Packers found ways to win yesterday against the Houston Texans, despite some sloppy special teams plays. Now, their punter, who I don't have in stock up, stock down, Daniel Whelan was terrific yesterday flipping the field. Like, he was an important reason that the Packers ended up winning that game. So that's an important thing to underline. The other obvious big part on special teams is, of course, the kicker, Brandon McManus, who ends up walking off the game yesterday, makes his only field goal of the game at the end, the 45-yarder, and went 3 for 3 on extra points. This is why you sign a veteran kicker. This is how you solve your kicking problems, is by bringing in a guy who is well established in the league, has a 10-year past. He's won a Super Bowl. He's kicked in the biggest of moments, and it shows out there yesterday. McManus drilling the 45-yarder to walk off the game. And, you know, the mind can't help but think, what would have happened had they hung on to Braden Narveson for another week? Seriously. You have to wonder that. And I'm not trying to be negative. I'm not trying to, say they would have lost the game one way or another. But in an alternate universe, there is a way in which the Packers still have Braden Narveson as their kicker entering this game. Let's say he goes 3 for 3 on extra points, so the score is still the same, 22-21 with a couple seconds left. Narveson makes that kick. He shuts up a lot of doubters, and he's probably your kicker the remainder of the season. Narveson misses that kick. You're 4-3 instead of 5-2, and you're feeling a little bit differently about the division. You're feeling a lot differently about how they found a way to win that game. So, all in all, I couldn't help but wonder, if the Packers hadn't made the move they did last week by signing Brandon McManus, do they still win that game? I'm not trying to be negative or pessimistic, because maybe Narveson makes that kick. But you have to wonder, if he's still the kicker and they don't make the move they made last week, are the Packers 4-3 or are they 5-2? And I'm happy to walk away saying, hey, they're 5-2. McManus made the kick, and it looks like, at the very least, this is a long-term Band-Aid on the kicking situation. You've got McManus the rest of the season, and now you can trust him in the biggest of moments to make the kick. I lied at the beginning of the show. Joshie DiMaggio is with us back at the Grubel offices, One Call That's All Studios at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Let's look at what Hunter wrote on the screen. McManus, they have a kicker. Joshie DiMaggio, I ask you my favorite question. Do they have a kicker?
I think they have a kicker for now. As you said, a long-term solution for this season.
That's good news.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good to get him within that 45, inside that 50, when they were first showing the 50-yard mark there for the field goal. I was like, let's get a little closer if we can. And they got it with that Dobbs play. And I mean, I'm happy about his ability to make field goals, because Narveson from 45 was not reliable, as we had seen many times this year. So, good things.
Packers are 4-3.
No
Braden
more talking about
Narveson's the
kickers.
kicker yesterday, right?
Say that again?
Packers are 4-3 if Narveson's the kicker yesterday?
I have a strong feeling of that. I think it's a real coin flip situation.
It sure is. I mean, it's much more 50-50 than it is. What is it for McManus inside 49? Yes. Like 91%?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's a lot more 50-50. If
Shout out Daniel Whelan for that hold, too. Impressive.
Yeah, great hold. Fundamentally sound. Brad Nortman would be proud.
Uh-huh. What's the deal with that long snapper? Is it that hard? Can we not get better at that?
Orzek? Yeah, I don't know. Hey, it worked. That's all that matters, man.
Speaking of kickers, Anders,
Yeah.
Did go 2 for 2 with San Francisco.
With the Niners? Yeah.
And had a 55-yarder.
Yeah, he did.
So I'm still going to say that it's something in the Packers. It's something in the water.
Or are you going to make the case that the Packers gave up too early? Did the Packers give up on Anders too early?
I think it's a coaching thing. I don't think we're completely done with the kicker issues in Green Bay.
I don't either.
And I think there's something.
I think we are for the
going
season.
on.
I'll say that. I think we're done for the season. I think McManus is your guy. You've got him through the season. Then next year they ultimately have to make the decision, right? Is it Alex Hale who's on their practice squad? Is it trying to draft another kicker? Is it trying to sign a free agent kicker that's maybe younger than Brandon McManus and has more of a long-term future in the league? I don't know. I don't think we're done either. I think we are, however, done for the season with the kicker situation. Reminder, you can chime in if you're with us live, about 100 rocking with us live on YouTube, at ESPN Milwaukee, at ESPN Madison. Give me your thoughts on the kicker. Give me your thoughts on the win. How you feeling? I see iRock on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel. Happy Victory Monday, Strouf. This win is single-handedly attributed to Brian Gutekunst. Well, let's think about that for a second. Brandon McManus, check. That's a Brian Gutekunst move. Jordan Love, check. It's a Brian Gutekunst draft pick. Josh Jacobs, check, who didn't have a huge game, but he had his first receiving touchdown. That was a risky Brian Gutekunst pickup this offseason. In fact, I think back about 7 months ago, I was sitting in this very chair at the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. Hunter was right there running the show. It was the first day of free agency, and I remember the shock that hit all of us when we found out that Josh Jacobs signed with the Green Bay Packers, because we all thought Aaron Jones was going to roll in and continue as the running back. That's a Goody's pickup. Right? Romeo Doubs had a huge game. That's a Goody draft pick. Think about defensively. Xavier McKinney played a really nice game. Rashawn Gary finally appeared. You can take his face off the milk cartons. He's back. Maybe. But having the sack, getting in the backfield, getting some pressure on C.J. Stroud, who had an awful game. I wouldn't say it's single-handedly Goody, because I think the other important move is the hiring of Jeff Hafley. In that credit, and he got a game ball from the head coach. Matt LaFleur also deserves a lot of credit. So, while you could probably give the most, Josh, you help me out here. Attribution?
You could just go credit, dude.
Attribution, yeah, probably the most. Good point. Most credit goes to Brian Gutekunst, but also some credit goes to Matt LaFleur. Yeah, vocabulary not always my strong suit, but
yeah. Why can I gotta know? Like, I'm gonna go into your brain here a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Like, why do you always reach for the words that are just a little bit too far outside for you?
Because the word attribute was or attributed was used, and I wanted to stay in the attributed family. Attributed family.
Yeah, but like,
yeah. I mean, it's just what I did. Question on you, or point on YouTube from both Seth and Mike.
Know your strengths type move.
Shut up, Joshy. Seth and Mike on YouTube both chime in. Anders did miss a PAT yesterday for the 49ers.
Okay, great. Instead of losing by 10, they would have lost by 9. Chiefs still covered. Like,
that's a good point.
Dude was keeping them in the game with those 2 field goals.
Let's go to Jordan Love. Because he dude, I texted my dad this last night. He's got the chaotic decision-making of Brett Favre. He has the arm power of Aaron Rodgers and the throwing ability of Aaron Rodgers, right? Flick of the wrist, things look seamless. And he's got his own demeanor, right? That's like cool, calm, collected, nothing bothers him of himself. He is the carbon copy, perfect description of a Packers quarterback. And I see some people beating up on him because he leads the league in interceptions despite missing 2 games. He's tied with Patrick Mahomes with 8 interceptions on the year for the league lead. I think as Packers fans, we're so used to turnover-free football from our quarterback. Right? Aaron Rodgers for 15 years really didn't throw interceptions. And now Jordan Love is leading the league in interceptions, which I don't have a problem with. You're still 5-2. You're still winning football games. He's still throwing more touchdowns than he is interceptions. I don't have an issue with the way Jordan Love has played this year. Now, some of the decision-making is poor. Absolutely. No argument for me. Some of the decision-making is bad. I get it. I understand the frustrations. I understand some of the knocks and some of the things we're saying that are bad about Jordan Love. I fully get. I agree with it. But he's a really good quarterback. He's still a really good quarterback, despite some of the poor decision makings and some of the turnovers. Jordan Love is still going to win you more games than he loses. Ron chimes in, quote, beating up on him, end quote, a.k.a. accurately criticizing him for a historically bad per-game interception stat. Sure, but look at the record. At the end of the day, what matters? The record. And they are 5-2 and beat a really good football team yesterday. And despite the sloppiness and the mistakes that he made and other players made, we're still celebrating a victory Monday. Houston made mistakes too. C.J. Stroud stunk yesterday. Which performance would you rather have yesterday? Would you rather have Jordan Love throwing for 220 yards, throwing 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, or would you rather have less than a 50% completion percentage, 86 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions? I know which one I'd rather have. Give me the 2 interceptions, but also give me the 3 touchdowns. That's where I land.
I think it's also important to point out that Jordan Love is tied with Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
With
just the best quarterback in football.
Yeah. So, like, I think there's such a level of the interception being only a quarterback stat that needs to go away. I think it can be on wide receivers. Aaron Rodgers threw an interception that went off of Garrett Wilson's shoulder pad on a back shoulder fade where it was supposed to be. And, like, Garrett Wilson, he gets a drop put on his stats. Aaron Rodgers gets the dreaded INT. Mm-hmm. Like, this stat is kind of a joke.
Interceptions?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, we need to just, like, look at the interceptions as where they happen in the game and how they happen.
Here comes Joshy.
Guys, how many interceptions of Jordan Love's can we attribute to other people on the field?
Way to use the word attribute
slip
there.
Of Bull Melton?
The word attribute. I like
the Bull Melton one? Like,
yeah.
Jordan Love leading the league in interceptions while playing 2 less games than some of the guys also on that list. Like, it's something that needs to be cleaned up. I'm not slamming the panic button saying, oh, my God, we overpaid a guy who's no good.
Yeah.
But, like, some of it was just pure bad decision-making. And it was a good decision when Jaden Reed caught it and the cornerback couldn't track the ball. But when he's throwing it over the middle to no one in particular, just lofting the ball, that's issues. Mm-hmm. When you get to games that matter a lot more than week 7 of the regular season, the margins of victory are so thin. You have to make better decisions than that. It can be both things.
It can be, and I think you're right on that. But I think Alan points it out perfectly, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. He said Favre made every throw he ever saw. Rodgers didn't throw interceptions and also didn't throw the ball when he needed to sometimes. And Allen says he'd rather rein a guy in than push a guy forward, which I think is a fair point on Love, right? Like, you'd rather rein him in, Joshy, and say, hey, like, clean this up. It's week 7 to your point, right? So if he's making bad decisions or throwing 2 interceptions and you're still getting a win, you'll take the win. And Love obviously knows better than anybody. He's got stuff to clean up. He hasn't been perfect this year by any means, but this is still a team that's in a position of 5-2 and wins a game with 7 lead changes.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want to take away his aggressiveness. It's just some of the decision making, because at times the game doesn't call for the throw he's making, and that is putting your team in a bad situation. We've seen that multiple times where it's like, that probably wasn't the play there. We didn't need that one. But the aggressiveness is also like one of his greatest powers, because teams aren't reeling off explosive plays. So you have to find the right blend of it, and I don't think it's something that can't be coached out or fixed a little bit. But the guy's throwing the ball to the other team a lot, and I would prefer if he wasn't leading the league in it.
It is kind of funny, though, Joshy, right? Like the fact that he's tied with Patrick Mahomes for the league lead. It's a little funny.
Mahomes hasn't been that good. He's got 6 touchdowns on the
season.
He's
undefeated. I think
I was going to say, they'll be okay, though. I mean, they are the last undefeated team in the league.
Yeah, that's great. But, like, he's the leader. He's still the leader for the MVP this year, and he's been middling quarterback all season long.
Let's throw a poll out there. We'll do it on YouTube, but we'll also do it on Twitter at ESPN Milwaukee, if that's okay. Maddie Hayes, our social media coordinator, is sitting in the studio with me here in Madison. Maddie, I'm going to ask you out loud. Is it okay if we post a poll that says, are you concerned about Jordan Love's interceptions? Are you cracking a mic? Hold on. She's going to crack a mic now. This is great. Is it okay if we post a poll that says, are you worried about Jordan Love's interceptions?
Thank you for asking no.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. Yes. Okay. Go vote, please.
All right. Well, we're going to throw that on Twitter, and we'll throw it on the YouTube polls. Are you worried about Jordan Love's leading the league in interceptions? You'll make it sound good. I trust you. So let's throw that on a poll, and we'll take a look at the results of the poll. Because it sounds like, Josh, you would vote yes? Slide back to the microphone, attaboy.
At this point, yes. I think they are too high. Do I think it's an issue that isn't fixable? Is something that's going to like if this carries on and Jordan Love is throwing like 2 interceptions every game? That's a big problem.
I would agree with that. So you vote yes as it stands right now. Hunter, where do you fall on the Jordan Love poll we're going to be posting?
I'm leaning towards no until the interception is a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers loses them at the end of the game, or a Tony Romo type of interception that he always did.
I was just talking to Jim Rutledge, host of Jim, Matt, and Molly, weekdays 4 to 6 on ESPN Madison, before we jumped in here to do the show. And, I said to him, I'm not going to apologize about winning. And if the Packers ultimately lose yesterday, right, if we come in and we're 4-3, I think we're doing a very different show, and I think we're talking about this very differently. But they won. They're 5-2. I don't give a damn. And if they're losing football games because of it, that's when I start worrying. Similarly to the kicker issue, right? Like, if your kicker is losing you a game, then yeah, I'm going to panic. But if he's not, and McManus obviously didn't yesterday, why would I worry about McManus? Love is making bad throws. Yes, 100% we would all agree on that. He has made some questionable throws this year. But do I think it is going to be back-breaking come the playoffs, which this team is clearly going to make unless something crazy happens over the course of the rest of the season? So right now my vote is no. If they lose to the Jags next week and he throws 2 interceptions, I will be changing my vote next Monday. Right? I think that's kind of where I land.
Yeah, and I think it's also when you're putting it into the context of this game against the Texans, like the Texans are an incredibly good football team. Mm-hmm. They're going to do things to make you not look good, even when you beat them. That's what good teams do. That's why it was such a close game. So, like, this idea of, like, oh, well, they didn't look good and they struggled at times and things weren't perfect. Like, yeah, that's what a team that's looking to probably try and go to a Super Bowl is going to do to you, even if you're a good enough team to potentially go to the Super Bowl as well. That's the NFL. That's what happens. I know he's still made mistakes. I know that he hasn't been perfect, but it's fine if he's doing it in week 7. It's okay to try those things out now. Mm-hmm. It was the same thing of Brock Purdy was talking about how he was throwing a bunch of interceptions during training camp, and the press were ripping him apart in San Francisco. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to try things that I shouldn't do now. I'm not going to do that when it's December. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a time and place for it, and I think Jordan's just trying to figure some of that out right now, as long as they're winning games. He didn't throw an interception in the last drive to get him into field goal range. He made great, smart throws then. It's okay. Everything's going to be okay.
Early returns across our polls on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube. 6 votes, 7 votes in, 100% say no. On the ESPN Madison poll, 3 votes in, 100% say no. And on Twitter... where are we at here? About 25 votes in, 52% say no, 48% say yes. Okay. So some people are, some people aren't. Some people are Team Joshy, some people are with me and Hunter. I think it's too early to worry or hit the panic button, which I don't think Joshy's doing by any means. But it's certainly something that's eye-popping, right? Love didn't throw interceptions the second half of last year. And maybe this just signals comfortability. Maybe this just signals that Love is more comfortable than he was at the end of last season. He's willing to take more risks. He has more trusts in the guys around him. Maybe that's the case. But yeah, you want him to reel it in a bit. Of course, naturally. So we'll continue to keep an eye on that poll. Also want to get to some stock up, stock down. Want to take a look at the division because another week, no more undefeated teams in the NFC North, but damn is this division good. The Bears lost in their bye week. How fun is that? We will get to that all coming up. But first, got to tell you about my friends, our great presenting sponsor at Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. For me, football season, whiskey season. My personal favorite is the Door County Distillery Bourbon, but they also have the 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey, and they have their delicious rye whiskey at Door County Distillery. Maybe whiskey's not your thing now. How about brandy? Cherry brandy, apple brandy for the fall season. They've got that classic green bottle of gin, that classic blue bottle of vodka, and the cherry vodka made with local Door County cherries. Whatever it is, tailgate, parties, gatherings, hanging out on the deck as you enjoy this nice weather tonight. Another beautiful 70-degree day here in the end of October. Elevate it. Door County Distillery. Visit DoorCountyDistillery.com. Available in liquor stores all over the state, in Milwaukee and Madison and Green Bay and Door County, of course, and Stevens Point even. They've got Door County Distillery. Check them out, DoorCountyDistillery.com, as well as that huge list of unique cocktail recipes at DoorCountyDistillery.com. We step aside for 60 seconds. When we come back, stock up, stock down. I've got a shocking stock down. You're not going to believe Alex Strouf has a stock down for this guy. I'll tell you who that is. Coming up next, it's Mr. Irrelevant. I'm Alex Strouf.
Happy spooky season. What's the best drink this October? My friends at Door County Distillery are going to teach me how to make it.
Fall in a glass, it's the Apple Butter Bourbon Fizz from Door County Distillery. All you got to do is scoop apple butter into a cocktail shaker, take 2.5 ounces of your bourbon, shake that, strain that, and then fill the rest of the cup with ginger beer. And if you like to, which I like to, dash a little cinnamon on top of that. Boom, shakalaka, you've got the Apple Butter Bourbon Fizz from Door County Distillery.
Cheers, the Apple Butter Bourbon Fizz. I'm not going to say it 5 times fast enough. There's like a apple cider taste to it.
Apple cider vibes, yeah.
That's like corn maze for adults drink, is what that tastes like.
Check out their website with a huge list of unique cocktail recipes at DoorCountyDistillery.com. That's DoorCountyDistillery.com. Evan on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channel commented with a bomb. He's tied for picks with the Super Bowl champion, but smoking him in touchdowns. Weren't we 2-5 this time last year? RELAX. Well done, Evan, on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channel. As we are asking the poll today on Twitter at ESPN Milwaukee, which you can vote on through Tuesday afternoon. Are you worried about the fact that Jordan Love is leading the league in interceptions? The one on Twitter is a little bit more 50-50. The ones on YouTube are much more in the no category. But I thought Evan nailed it on the head right there. Well done by Evan on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube channel. Hey, before we get to stock up, stock down, another good question, because I asked Joshy before the question, do we have a kicker? Hey, Joshy, got another question for you. This one from Green Ranger on YouTube. Is it too early to say we have a defense? I will answer this before Joshy gives his take. It's safe to say they have a defensive coordinator.
I'm right there with you. I think they do have a defense. I think, like, if you look at the way he's dialing up pressure, some of them, the pressures he's getting are just simply off of twists and stunts that they're running with the guys on the field. He's dropping guys into coverage and bringing other guys that is confusing the offensive front. You can see the Rashawn Gary one where they only bring four.
Only four.
But he goes from the edge to over the front, over the center, and nobody picks him up because they had already slid their protection one way, and it was free, and that was huge for them keeping the Texans out of the end zone. I think he has elevated the level of play of the guys on the field with the addition of some guys on the field who have frankly been way better than we even expected. Xavier McKinney is one of them. Edgerrin Cooper, Evan Williams makes big tackles just every single game now. That's just a thing he's going to keep doing.
He's such a stud, dude.
I think the defense is really good, and it's only going to get better, save for any big injuries happening, which obviously, knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen. But he's using his weapons in ways that are working for them, and it's working in the CJ Stroud. That's a pitiful performance. That's high school football team that runs the wishbone level passing.
I like that. Yeah, no, you're right.
I tweeted it out. Like, they have nothing on offense if they stop Joe Mixon in the rushing attack, because they were doing nothing through the air. Like, not at all. They didn't have a chance.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. The wishbone pop was so good from Josh. It's all set. I mean, but you're right. Stroud sucked yesterday. And for a guy that – and look, we have to give him a little grace. It's still a guy who's only in his second year, and he's clearly a very good quarterback. But, yeah, he sucked yesterday. He did. He played really poorly against the Packers. Joe Mixon was that offense. And, by the way, Joe Mixon really good. You can still run on this defense. We can say that. But that's okay. That's okay. All right, let's get the stock up, stock down. Each and every Monday, we take a look at some of the players that have a stock up and some of them that have a stock down. Now, this is not indicative of the entire season. It is just the one game. So let's dive in. Let's start with stock up. I want to start with Romeo Doubs because I'm really impressed with the way he's responded to his little situation that occurred a few weeks ago. Last week, obviously, returns with a huge game against the Cardinals, 2 touchdown catches. Yesterday, he showed why we dubbed him, no pun intended, why we dubbed him Mr. Reliable last year. He became Jordan Love's security blanket. When Jordan Love needed a guy to throw it up to 50-50 balls or just a guy on whatever it is, a quick pass over the middle, a quick slant, whatever it is, a screen, Doubs became that guy for him last year. And Doubs showing again why he and Love are such an interesting duo, despite maybe not being the most talented receiver or the true number one receiver. Doubs plays such a hugely important role on this offense. 8 catches on 10 targets, 94 yards, led not only the team, but led the game in receiving yards. How about this for a stat? Romeo Doubs had more receiving yards than C.J. Stroud had passing yards yesterday. That's phenomenal in a second game back from the suspension. So Romeo Doubs, we said it last week. We hope the situation in which he was suspended for is just a blip on the radar. Yesterday, a second game in a row that is a really important step in the right direction to making that a blip on the radar. So Romeo Doubs, stock up. I told you, you'll never believe who I'm going to say is stock down. I am the proud, self-proclaimed CEO of the Jayden Reed fan club. Self-proclaimed CEO, and I believe that. I believe I've been peddling more Jayden Reed propaganda than anybody else on the face of planet Earth. But it's stock down for Jayden Reed after yesterday's performance. Not only did he not have a good game in the receiving game, 4 targets, 2 catches, 10 yards. I mean, that's just not a Jayden Reed game. Couldn't get anything going out of the backfield, just had the 1 carry, went nowhere. Punt return, man. Why did he catch that ball? They still won the game, but that late punt return, shouldn't have caught it. Should have let it go. And punt return is a whole nother issue we'll get to in just a second. But it is stock down on Jayden Reed. I still believe he's the number 1 receiver. In fact, I still believe he's a superstar. He just didn't look like a superstar yesterday. And look, as I just said about C.J. Stroud, and I will say about Jayden Reed, he is only in his second year. He is still a young player who is evolving and getting better and adding things to what he's able to do, right, to his game. So there's still a lot of ball game left when it comes to Jayden Reed. He's still got a long, successful career ahead of him. But he was bad yesterday. He was. If we're going to call him a superstar and view him as the true number 1 receiver on the Packers roster, he has to be better than he was yesterday. And that's okay, and I think he will be. But I think he'll bounce back. I still think he's the best receiver, most talented receiver on this roster. But yesterday was his worst day. And that's okay. Because you know what? I'm still smiling. The Packers still got to win. So 1 receiver up, 1 receiver down. Romeo Doubs up, Jayden Reed down after the performance yesterday. And guess what? That is okay. This is the conversation we need to have. He's not a player. He's a coach. Stock down, Rich Bisaccia. What the hell was that? Seriously, what the hell was that? I tweeted this yesterday, and I don't have a good answer. What exactly does the special teams coordinator do? Does anybody have the answer to that question? Not 1, not 2, but 3 punt returns were atrocious yesterday. Nixon doesn't catch the ball when he should. Reed catches the ball when he shouldn't. And there's a fumble mixed in there. 3 punt returns that were atrocious yesterday. Now, the punter was good, and obviously the kicker was good. He won you the game. So the punter and the kicker both get a game ball. You know who doesn't get a game ball? Rich Bisaccia. I'm not exactly sure what he does. It's week after week after week with this team that there are special teams blunders. And yesterday was no exception. In fact, I would argue yesterday might, especially in the punt return category, in the return game category, period, it's the worst they've been. Right? You know, you gloat so much about having the all-pro returner and the best returner in football. When did it look like that yesterday? It didn't. I'm not exactly sure what Rich Bisaccia does. He's getting paid a lot of money, and he is laughing his way to the bank. but it doesn't look like special teams were coordinated much yesterday, especially in the return game. Some of the replies to my tweet yesterday that I mentioned, I tweeted out, at @Alex_Strouf. What does the special teams coordinator do? Could somebody explain that to me? Rye Rudy says, on this team, not much. Todd says, cashes checks that total approximately $2 million per calendar year. Acts tough on the sideline, offers no coaching guidance. It's well done by Todd. Yeah, and Seth says he coordinates special teams. I don't think so. I don't know if that's accurate.
You know, had you consulted your producer on that tweet, I would have said that you should have done wrong answers only. Like, that was good, but we could have done better.
You know what? It's not a bad point by you. Should have consulted you. My bad. I will now, from this point forward, I will only consult Tiny Hands when I tweet something.
I'm clearly the Twitter king.
I got a lot of crap on Kyle Brust Norman, which you can hear weekdays 2 to 5 on ESPN Wisconsin. We were talking about, besides the Packers and Texans, what's the sexiest matchup of the week? My vote, my number one vote was Vikings-Lions. But my number 2 vote was tonight's game against the Ravens and the Buccaneers. I think that game is so sexy. Right, 2 4-2 teams. Ravens on the road, who have been one of the best. Those are 2 of the best offenses in football. And maybe, I don't know statistically where they rank, but I would imagine they're probably 2 of the top 5 teams in football offensively. It's a really fun game tonight.
But the last time that you were excited about a game was the Thursday night Broncos-Saints game.
Oh, you got to bring that back up, don't you?
So you went on a limb, basically in back-to-back shows, trying to say that a game is good.
You think that game will provide tonight, right? Ravens Bucks is
For
fun.
your sake, I hope so.
I do too.
Because if it doesn't,
if I'm wrong again, you got to stop listening to my advice on good football games.
that's going to be a long 3 hours for you. If it doesn't come through tonight.
The good news for me though is, Hunter, there is another game on tonight, so I could just flip the channel. I don't even know what it is though. What is it? It's Chargers and Cardinals. Is that right?
I don't know, but you think Brad's gonna forget? Like, Brust will forget. Kyle will forget.
Brad won't.
Yeah, Brad's not forgetting.
Good news, I'm not on the show today, right?
Yeah, but the game's tonight. You're going to be on the show Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll hear it tomorrow. Yeah, Chargers Cardinals. That's kind of it might be a good game in terms of like close, but it's not as appealing as Ravens Bucks. That's a really fun game tonight. So anyway, all right, let's get back to stock up, stock down. Rich Bisaccia, not good. That's my take on that. Stock up, Eric Wilson. He was awesome. 2 sacks for him in place of the injured not Eric Stokes, the injured Quay Walker, who went out early in that game. Look, I mean, we think back to last year. Eric Wilson had one of the biggest plays in the playoffs. It was the kick return that was phenomenal by Keyshawn Nixon against the 49ers, and then at the end of the return, he fumbles the football, and Eric Wilson jumps on it. So he's more well known for his special teams presence, as he's kind of a depth linebacker now with the addition of Edgerrin Cooper. He comes in for the injured Quay Walker, plays the rest of the game, and as I mentioned, 2 sacks. He led the team in tackles. I thought he was awesome yesterday. Despite the fact that Joe Mixon had a really nice game and was able to kind of do what he wanted against this Packers defense, I thought Wilson was a good stopgap linebacker, and obviously getting the 2 sacks. Stroud sacked 4 times, including half of those by Eric Wilson. Would I be mad if we saw more Eric Wilson in the normal linebacker rotation going forward? No, I wouldn't be. I think Edgerrin Cooper's been really good, as we mentioned, here in his rookie year. Him and Evan Williams seems like they are every down guys. And by the way, Evan Williams was an every down guy yesterday for the Packers in terms of snap count. I think Eric Wilson's got to find, you've got to find places to play him after yesterday's performance. How can't you? Right? When you get brought in and your role gets elevated due to an injury, especially really early in that game, I think it was in the first quarter Quay Walker went out. I thought he was awesome. Like there wasn't a moment in that game where I went, oh, what is Eric Wilson doing? Which I feel like I've done quite a bit with Quay Walker this year. I did not do that yesterday with Eric Wilson. Mike chimes in, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. Wilson's been our best linebacker this season. I think there's a case to make for it. Cooper's been good. I don't think Quay has been as bad as some people say he's been, but he hasn't been great. I mean, he hasn't been spectacular. But maybe there is a case to make for Eric Wilson being the best linebacker through 7 games now. But again, I go to with this defense. And Jeff Hafley, well-deserved game ball that he received from Matt LaFleur. The Packers defense is actually has a lot of good problems to have, including this one in our final stock down. the cornerback room stuck down. And I know that's weird to say after a game where you only allow 86 passing yards. Hear me out on this. Jair's been good. Keyshawn Nixon has been, is it strong to say brilliant, since he's been moved outside from the slot position? Nixon and Jair are taking the snaps at corner. And you're finding Bullard kind of in a nickel role. And obviously, Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney at safety have been great. But Nixon and Jair, I am not talking about when I say stock down in the cornerback room. It's stock down on Carrington Valentine and Eric Stokes. You expected one of, if not both of those guys, to take a step forward. And they haven't. They've actually debatably taken a step back. And their snap count has taken a significant step back, which is concerning. So while I'm not, saying, hey, the Packers don't have cornerback depth, because I think it's a good problem to have when Eric Stokes is probably looked at as your fourth best corner or maybe fifth best corner. But no Valentine. Corey Valentine, that is, was horrible against the Vikings. He has not been back on the field since. Carrington Valentine, you thought was your bona fide number 2 corner. That's clearly not the case. It's Keyshawn Nixon now. I'm a little bit concerned about the cornerback room, but also view it as a good problem to have, if that makes any sense at all. And if anybody,
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if anybody's going to tell me whether or not it makes sense, it's going to be Joshy. Joshy, where are you at in the cornerback room?
I think Eric Stokes at this point kind of is what he is.
Which is what, like a fourth corner?
Yeah, he's a guy who can do some things. You don't want him on the field a lot. Teams will pick on him. I'm still very high on Carrington Valentine. I think the bigger story is just Keyshawn Nixon. Yeah, I have no reason not to be. I mean, he had some injuries. He lost playing time because of that. He was forced. I think the real story is simply just about Keyshawn Nixon. He was a guy I wasn't confident about in the slot, and then they moved him outside, and he's been great at it.
He's been really good.
I don't know if Carrington Valentine got worse or Keyshawn Nixon has just been playing out of his mind. At what point is it just, this guy's just pretty damn good, and your third or fourth corners being those guys is a really good spot to be, as you said. I don't know if I'm stocked down really on any of them, because where was Eric Stokes' stock?
It wasn't high. But I guess Valentine, you say you're still high on, which is good to hear. If
they're still on the roster, their stock isn't 0 yet. So.
That's true. That's true. Braden Narvison, on the other hand, his stock is -4. So that's a good point. But I don't know. I don't know if it's fair to say the stock is down for the whole room, because, like you said, Keyshawn Nixon's been great, and I probably should have given him a stock up today. But I think I'm still battling with the fact that Eric Stokes came back healthy after visiting a specialist here in Madison in the offseason. He's been healthy every week, and you just don't see him. And when you do, it hasn't been great, because he got burned a little bit in that Minnesota game without Jair and Carrington Valentine. So, I don't know. I wish I felt more confident in Eric Stokes and Carrington Valentine, but I don't. But I do feel very confident in Keyshawn Nixon, which is a good note. So there's your stock up and stock down for the Green Bay Packers after 7 weeks in the NFL season. 5-2 the Packers are. I wish that was my record this weekend on Underdog. It was not. Hoping to rebound tonight in that Ravens-Buccaneers game. I'm not going to lie to you. I had a tough weekend. On the Underdog app, but damn is it fun to watch a long play football and a little WNBA action last night. What a game that was for the Liberty, who ended up winning the WNBA championship in overtime of Game 5. That was thrilling. Lost that entry too, though. Just want to throw that out there. Hopefully you have better luck than me on the Underdog app or UnderdogFantasy.com. Use promo code GOODKARMA at sign up, GOODKARMA. You will receive up to $1,000 deposit match, and you can win up to 1,000 times your money on Underdog. All you have to do in the pick'em game is select higher or lower on player projections on their stats. It's available in 33 states. It's available in Canada. It's available in Wisconsin. All you have to do is pick between 2 and 8 projections, higher or lower, on the Underdog app or UnderdogFantasy.com, and you can win money. It's that simple, and it's very fun to watch along. It elevates the game-watching experience. I think all three of us can agree on that when it comes to the Underdog app. So Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com, free to download, free to join, and you can get up to $1,000 match on your initial deposit and win up to 1,000 times your money watching along this season on the Underdog app. Use promo code GOODKARMA at sign-up, GOODKARMA. Uh-oh, Joshy's grabbing the mic. Did you win some money?
No, I actually had a pretty bad week. I got real hurt by Jane Daniels' injury, but what can you do? Some of those picks were rescued. We'll live to fight another week.
Sure
There's some, I don't want to call them necessarily freebies, but 0.5 passing yards, which you could build some entries for this week. Kyler Murray, 0.5 passing yards, and I believe I used the Lamar Jackson one that was in there earlier already. So there are some things to get in on the double Monday night, which is always great for Pick'em. You can really get a little spicy there.
You can get a little spicy with the double Monday night game, no doubt about it. And I will be participating. I know Joshy's probably already got a few entries in, and I'm sure Hunter will be playing along as well tonight for the doubleheader on Monday Night Football on the Underdog app, UnderdogFantasy.com. Let's talk NFC North, man. What a stacked division this is. Lions beat the Vikings yesterday, so there are no more undefeated teams in the division. But that means there was 2 one-loss teams in the division, and there was 2 two-loss teams in the division. The Bears have sole possession of last place in the NFC North. They didn't play this week. They're 4-2, and they're in last place. That's how good this division is. Packers in third place at 5-2, Vikings in second place at 5-1, and of course the Lions in first place also at 5-1, but with the win over the Vikings. This is going to be a 3 playoff team division, and I don't know who it's going to be. I think the Packers and Lions are definitely 2 of them. Will the Vikings come back down to earth and the Bears continue to succeed? Or will the Bears maybe falter a little bit more than people expected and the Vikings keep up their pace? I don't know what the answer is. But this is a thoroughly entertaining division. It is a thoroughly good division with some really good head coaches, some good quarterback play, and dare I say, maybe the best defensive division in football. I mean, think of these defenses. Now, Lions obviously take a hit by losing Aiden Hutchinson for the season. But you've still got a defensive-minded head coach in Dan Campbell. And the guy who's going to put his players in a position to rattle opposing quarterbacks. This offense or this defense for Detroit is still very good despite losing their best piece. Chicago, I mean, they've got a good defense, really good defensive backs, and they've been and they haven't played anybody too great yet, or beat anybody too great yet. But they've still been able to apply some pressure. I mean, they've got a good up front, and they've got good D-backs. The Chicago defense is really good. Minnesota might have one of the best defenses in the league, and maybe the best defensive coordinator in the league, in Brian Flores. And we've already declared on this show that the Packers have a defense. And you saw the way they rattled C.J. Stroud yesterday. He stunk yesterday. This is a really good defensive division, with some pretty good offenses added in when you look across the division. It's the best division in football and the most entertaining division in football, which, as a Packers fan, if we lost yesterday, I'm probably singing a different tune. But damn, I love this division. This is fun for me.
If there's still any Packer fans that are maybe a little worried about the way that the Bears are playing with a rookie quarterback, I think the thing that's going to help for Packer fans is that I was just looking at the Bears' schedule. They play 3 more teams right now that don't have winning records. So the rest of the teams they play the rest of the way right now all have winning records, because they've got the Cardinals who don't have a winning record, and then they've got the Patriots, and then the 49ers technically don't have a winning record, but like they're still a really good team. The Bears are right now, I still think they're frauds. They've beat up on really bad teams. And until it was the kind of the way I was feeling about the Packers.
Yeah, you need a
bit.
signature win, right?
Yeah, like beat somebody good, and then let's start talking about them being genuine. Like the other teams in the division have good wins. They've shown that, like, okay, when we're out there against a good team, we're going to beat a good team, and we can compete with them.
I'm totally
Bears
with you.
Haven't done that yet.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point, and we will see. Will they? Probably. Right? You got 11 games left for them at 4-2. They'll get a big win. They're going to upset somebody, and that's okay. I might regret saying this because Joshy's going to call me a closeted Bears fan. The NFL's better when the Bears are good. The NFL's better when the Bears are competitive, and this division is competitive as hell.
What does that even mean?
That the NFL is better when the Bears are good?
Yeah. What does it? What does the NFL care?
The NFL
us
cares.
as fans.
The NFL cares obviously about the large market, third largest market in the NFL. The NFL obviously cares about the fan base, one of the biggest fan bases in the NFL, and the NFL cares, I think, more than you realize about the Bears-Packers rivalry. If it's fun,
If they could pick, would they rather have the Jets be good or the Bears be good?
well, great question.
Wait, this
That's a
year
great question.
or like non-Aaron Rodgers and all?
Literally any year ever.
Because like when they
I
were
think the
good
answer
with,
changes then. If it's this year specifically, it's the Jets,
yeah,
who are 2-5, by the way.
and I don't think the NFL cared when the Jets with like Mark Sanchez and Bart Scott were good. Like that didn't move the needle for them. But
I
like,
think that's wrong.
you think that's wrong?
Yeah, I'm with Joshy on that. I think they care.
Yeah.
I don't think it did.
When you have as polarizing of a head coach as Rex Ryan was, and you're in the largest media market, they care.
I don't think it moved the needle as much as what the Bears. If the Bears and the Packers are both good at the same time, what that does for the NFL, because like the Jets just don't have that same rivalry. Like I know you could say it's with the Giants, yeah, but like it's not quite the same.
No, I mean, at least of the last 2 decades, it's very Packers Bears-esque, right? One team has dominated that. It won't be the case this year, probably, but yeah, it's a good point. The answer is the Jets, though, this year, to answer Joshy's question from earlier. But anyway, all right, let's get to what we learned. You learn something new every day. We learned something new today. It's time now for what we learned. I've got 2 things, actually. Number one, Badgers basketball team alternate uniforms. If you haven't seen them, see them. They're sick. I love them. Much better than the Packers whiteout, which I also liked, by the way. The whiteout will be brought back, I think. That's a prediction, not something I learned. They won in a fun game. They're going to bring that back at some point. Maybe even this year. I don't know, though. We'll see. That's number one. Number two, we have talked about this stat before, but I love it, and I wanted to see if you guys feel the same way I do about it. The Josh Jacobs most receptions in NFL history without scoring a touchdown statistics, which is now dead. It remains the stat, but now Josh Jacobs has cemented that stat by scoring his first receiving touchdown yesterday against the Texans. I think that stat's hilarious. I love it. I think it's hilarious that an all-pro back, one of the best in the league, had never scored a receiving touchdown, broke the NFL record for most receptions without a touchdown, and finally solidified it, put the icing on the cake on that yesterday. Hunter, I'll start with you. Do you like that stat?
Yes, only because it shows how inept of a franchise the Raiders are.
Yeah.
Like, how do you not get that guy into the end zone through the passing game? Like, what are you that? How are you that bad?
It's fair. It's fair. Joshy, do you like that statistic?
Yes, I was acutely aware of that one. It cost me some money on the Underdog app because I thought they were going to do that in the first game of the year. Make sure he gets in there. What I did find interesting also were his comments after, where they said they focused on that this week. They had about 4 or 5 different plays that would get him into the end zone if they were in the red zone there. So that, to me, was very, very interesting. So the narrative I bought into in game 1 and 2 was real. It just needed to happen in week 7.
Yeah. I actually have a third what we learned. I'm just going to rattle them off.
wow.
There. I've learned a lot this weekend. The third thing I learned, I believe this is true, but it might not be, and I can't fact check it. So this might not even be true what I'm about to tell you. Love that. I think Davante Adams became the first player in NFL history to lose to the same team back-to-back weeks in the regular season. The Raiders played the Steelers last week. The Jets played the Steelers this week. So Davante Adams started his week last week by losing to the Steelers, then got traded, and then lost to the Steelers again. I don't think another player has ever done that in the regular season. It's obviously happened in the postseason. The Packers have been a part of it, where they play the same team they played in week 17 or 18 in the wild card round of the playoffs. It's happened then. I don't know if it's ever happened in the regular season that a player was lost to the same team in back-to-back weeks. Davante Adams did it to the Steelers. How fun is that?
Yeah, because he went from bad team to bad team. I don't know what you want there.
Joshy?
Yeah, he has the same record as the team he left. Good for you, Davante. Everything's fixed there. It's better now. Aren't you so happy?
Everything's better now. Everything's better now, Davante. I still think the Jets are going to win some football games. I don't know if they're a playoff team.
They're not.
2-5 is bad.
They need to go 7-3 the rest of the way.
Joshy, I believe
have a chance.
I believe we're relatively familiar with a team that started the season 2-5 recently that ended up winning a playoff game.
But
Did they fire their head coach?
I'm referring to the. Oh yeah, no, they did not fire their head coach. Matt LaFleur is still happily employed. Yes. It's a fair
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to check in on that.
Also, that team you're referring to could keep their quarterback upright much better than what the Jets can.
Yeah, the O-line's a little bit better in Green Bay. Poor Aaron, man. Poor Aaron. Goes to a much crappier
Poor
situation.
Aaron?
I'm just kidding,
Poor
Josh.
Aaron. Are you out of your mind? This is his team. He built it. He's the reason it sucks. This is his fault. Poor Aaron.
It's so easy to get Joshy fired up on Aaron Rodgers.
I think Josh hates Aaron Rodgers more than I hate Jesse Winker.
Oh, now that is a good question. I think you're right. I think I think in terms of like the hatred power rankings, it goes. Yeah, oh, that's tough. Yeah, I think Joshy to Aaron Rodgers is number one. I think you to Winker is number two. Who do I hate? Do I hate anybody?
I was going to say, I could double up and go me to Jerry Jones, 3.
That's up there, too.
I might take up a lot of this list, actually.
So that's up there, too. At least the Cowboys couldn't break your heart this week.
It's true. It was so nice. The sun was brighter. Food tasted better.
So I'll tell
it was
you what,
great.
like, I talk all the time about stress-free wins, right? Like last week against the Cardinals for the Packers was a stress-free win for me.
Or the Lions against the Cowboys last week.
Yeah, that falls into that category, too, for Lions fans. This Sunday was a stress-free Sunday for you.
Yeah, it was great.
So for your what you learned, I'm going to give you what you learned.
Oh, I had such a good one.
All right, go ahead.
I learned that Nebraska Cornhuskers fans are the most delusional fans in all of sports. Just came across this on Twitter that on one of the Nebraska fan sites, there is a fan already calling for Matt Rule to be fired after the 56-7 loss to Indiana. I quote, because I couldn't put this up on the video stream, "Why, with the money involved, stay with this soft B after getting embarrassed by effing Indiana? No coming back on that. He's cooked. They already want that man fired."
Yeah, that's crazy. It's only year 2, man. Relax.
Yeah.
Indiana's good, too.
Yeah.
You're
They're going to
good.
make the playoff.
I thought, they might. I don't know what their schedule looks like. They might. But basketball school no more. Josh, you got one?
Yeah, I got a quick one. Is Badgers football's back, baby.
You might be right about that.
I've been saying it for a while.
It
but
was,
okay.
it was not the prettiest win over Northwestern.
But I said this on the postgame. The team last year doesn't win that type of a game.
No, you're totally right.
This is the most mentally tough Badgers football team that we've had in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
In particular because of a certain Agent Zero that's no longer there, I think. I think he was a little bit toxic to that locker room. I don't have any sources on that, but the way he was tweeting when things went south, I think he was who Hunter Wooler was referring to. I think Braylon Allen was the problem, not the solution.
Wow. Mic drop to end the show by Hunter Vaughn Tiny Hands. Damn.
I mean,
I got nothing to add.
No, I don't either. I don't think he's wrong. But again, none of us have sources on this. Maybe Josh does. I don't know. I don't. And Hunter just said he doesn't, but he might not be wrong about that. All right, it's been great. It's been fun, and it's been real fun here on Mr. Relevant, presented by Door County Distillery. Reminder, if any of you are new here, we do this each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, beginning at 12:30 on the ESPN Milwaukee and ESPN Madison YouTube channels. That's 12:30 Central. We talk Packers, we talk Badgers, we talk Brewers, we talk Bucks, we talk Marquette. We do all the in-betweens. But today's a Victory Monday, and it was all about the green and gold. But how about another double-win weekend for the state of Wisconsin? Packers and Badgers get it done this weekend. That's what we love to see. Badgers are back, and the Packers are damn good. We continue to react to the win over the Texans. Coming up on Wednesday's show, we will also begin to preview the Jags. If they don't win that game, hit the freaking panic button. Jordan Love, as for now, we won't be able to say that's after tonight, likely. Leads the league in touchdown passes and interceptions. Brett Favre, who? Brett Favre, who? Oh, man, it's the best. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Play along on the Underdog app. Use promo code GoodKarma. Drink your Door County Distillery. Available all over the state of Wisconsin and available online. DoorCountyDistillery.com. We'll talk to you on Wednesday. Thanks to Joshy. Thanks to Tiny Hands, as always, for running the show and playing along with me. I attribute the success of this program to those two. It's Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf. We'll talk to you Wednesday. Peace.